all, welcome back to the Arduino tutorials. So in this video, we will talk about some of the registers that can be used while programming the Arduino boards. So before going to that, we have been talking all the way, right? Where we said GPIO is the preliminary configuration that any engineer starts working with. So if you are starting with a new board, the first thing you try is glowing an LED or just reading a button. That's the very first thing we do to get to know the interfaces. Similarly, how we say hello world in C, right, or any other programming language. So this is the thing that we do. So for that, we need to know what happens with the GPIO pins. So we said there are 23 GPIO pins in Arduino, right? So now all these GPIO pins are basically configured as input by default. So that means if you want to control an LED, glow an LED, you must need to set the particular pin to output and then drive that output. So that's the very important thing. Now thing, so to drive that, right, we said first we have to set the direction to output instead of input and then drive it. So to set the direction of a particular pin, there is a register called DDR register. So X represents the port. So we have 3 ports, we already discussed that. So the particular port, pins of a particular port can be driven using this DDRx register. So example, if you see here, if we set DDRB or is equal to FF, that means we are setting all the bits of DDRB to FF, which meant all the 8 pins of the port B shall be set as outputs. So this is a very preliminary thing that we do when are setting the outputs. Not only Arduino here, if you take any embedded board, you do have the same process. The only point that varies is the registers. So they might have different registers, the naming might be different, but the process would be the same. And then now we talked about the direction, right? Now this DDR register, once you set, you also need to know whether you have set it properly or not. Sometimes you might have to read back to see what is the set, or you might somewhere in between a program, and at that point, before setting the pin as output, you wanted to read the status of the pins. So DDRx register can be used to read the status of the pins as well, and then you can do whatever you want, whether you want to make it as input or output, whatever configuration. And now once you set the direction of the pins using the DDRx register, the next thing is you want write to a particular pin of a port. So for that, there is a register called port X. Again, X represents the port name here. So B, C, or D. So if you see an example, we are writing port B or is equal to 0x01. So that means in this hex you have 4 zeros, and then this is 0001. That means you are setting the first bit of that particular register to 1. So you are using the first port of that first pin of that port. So that's what that's how you set it to output. So now the first thing is we have set the direction, and now we have set the port pin. That means you have enabled it to high. Okay, and then next thing is in between the program, you might want to read the status of the port. Like example, let us assume in port B, we have set 2 pins to high and the other pins are low in between the program. And then at some point in the program, you might want to know what are the bits set, what are the bits unset. That means which pins you are enabled as high, which pins you are enabled as low. So in that case, to read the status of that particular port, you have a register called PINX register. So that means you can read the status of the pin. Okay, so very, very important register. So three registers, DDR, port, and pin are the very, very important registers in Arduino. And then we talked about these registers, right? We are talking, right? We will be writing or we'll be reading. So a user must know which registers are readable, which registers are can be written. So in this case, if you uh, write the program without knowing that, you might read or write a register which is not allowed to be read or in fact written, and then it might give an error at a later point of time, which is not a good thing, right? You waste a lot of time programming. So before doing that, you need to know which registers are readable and or which registers can be written. So as we said, direction registers DDRx can be read or written because you need to know the direction of the ports before setting them. Port X, you are going to set the data. So what is the data that is being set on that port can be written using the port register. And then the pin register basically is only readable, it cannot be writable. Pin register is only used to know the present status of the pin, as we discussed. So a very, very important thing. So these are the things we basically while working with Arduino, these are the first registers that we work on. Now there are some inbuilt functions which we need to know, so that we will talk when we start working on the Arduino, but these specific port related settings, the GPIO related settings must be known by the programmer before starting to write a program on Arduino. Please post if you have any questions. Please let us know your comments on these videos, and please like our video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.